Learning guitar comes down to a science, and it can really be isolated into 5 different levels to track your progress. And using this mind frame instead of just jumbling everything at once is actually going to give you the ability to figure out where you're weak, because when you're playing guitar, as you notice throughout this video, you're only going to be as good as your weakest link. So here's how you can divide it up to make sure you progress as fast and as smoothly as possible. The first section is going to be rhythm. Something you'll hear interspersed in the guitar community is that timing matters more than the notes you actually play, which is true to a very large extent, because something that sounds awesome but comes at the wrong time is always going to sound a little bit off, and this is why rhythm is really important, and it also helps create a backbone and structure in the song you're playing, so when you're playing with other people, everything is cohesive instead of being spread out in just a total amount of chaos. Here's how you can make sure you practice your rhythm and how it's going to progress. When you first start guitar, you're just going to have to learn quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, using your phone and mouth as a metronome to build your internal skills. And then you move on, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And as you get those basic rhythm subdivisions down, you start playing melodies while you use your voice as a metronome, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you just progress further and further while getting faster and making sure you can still do it really slow, because patience with this timing is something that gets harder and harder the better you get at guitar. And of course, how can you track if your rhythm is slagging behind? When you record yourself play to a metronome or with a drummer and you hear yourself playing in the wrong time and just sounding sloppy because you're always trying to play catch up or you're trying to play slow down, that's how you know rhythm is your weakest link. The next section of learning you need to divide is notes and chords, which is basically what you are saying. We have when you should say something down with rhythm, and now we actually need the what, because if you sound like this, it just doesn't sound good in almost every context because it's out of key. And a key is a collection of notes that have right and wrongs to help everything sound cohesive. And of course, you can break these rules, which is something that'll be present in another learning section. But for this one, it's knowing your scale patterns so you can stay in key, and it's knowing what chords are in key and just how to play different chord types, like extensions, so you have the vocabulary and know where all the notes are. This is really, really important and is what's going to actually make you sound like a good qualified musician when it's paired with rhythm. And the best practice for this is 1, learning all your scales and learning where almost every note is, especially on the first 2 strings, because this is just going to help you know where the right notes are, and when you learn them as patterns, you're going to be able to transpire them into different keys. And the way you can tell if this is lagging behind is if you hear yourself playing and you just sound bad, or if you just know you don't know all your chords and scales and where they kind of fit together. I have videos up on YouTube to do this, so you should go check them out. But if you know you can't do that, this is obviously a very weak link that you have to bring up. In this third section of guitar is phrasing. It's like the common saying, it's not what you said, it's about how you said it. Phrasing on guitar turns this boring statement into something a little more intriguing like this. The way you phrase on guitar is where over 50% of the emotion comes from. You play with sad fingers, you make a sadder sound. You play angry, you sure as hell sound angry. You play bright, you sound bright. This is why it's very, very important. This is also going to include your signature flared moves on guitar, like bends and slides, and hammer-ons and pull-offs that make you have those super shreddy sounds. And pairing that with your knowledge of notes and scales and your rhythm, you're going to be able to make guitar solos sound really, really nice because you're saying what you want to say and you're saying it at the right time and everything is in the right key and organization. And the best way to practice this is simply just by doing the thing. There's a lot of ways on guitar you can kind of get around doing things, but phrasing, you have to phrase, and that's the only thing you can do. Trying to target certain emotions like sadness, anger, and happiness are going to help you get there faster because you're going to get better at those specific scenarios. And the only way to really tell this is lagging behind is if 1, you feel like you can't do it, and 2, you record yourself and you hear yourself playing with or without a metronome and you just feel like there's some touch, some finesse, or something missing about your playing. And you're really only going to detect this once you've mastered the first 2 sections a lot higher than this. But phrasing is something that is very, very important as you advance on guitar, which is why it has its own section. And section 4 is simply just your music ball knowledge. Do you know what a major chord is and how to connect it to other major and minor chords to create a nice harmony? If you don't, music theory is something you absolutely have to learn. because it's what creates all the patterns, and it's how you connect different chords to each other to just make these really, really awesome sounds and enrich a melody someone else is playing. Have a better musical sense to learn songs faster and analyze song structures. There's so much that's important for theory, and you have to learn it. Don't listen to all these people that say you can just get around it. Sometimes you just have to sit down and learn the hard stuff so you can sound really, really awesome on guitar. It's essential, but the graceful thing about guitar is you don't have to know all these super, super advanced things in music theory. You just have to understand harmony, how things fit together, intervals, and just a little more flared stuff, and then that's it. You only need like 70%. And of course, you can tell that this is lagging behind when you just feel like you don't understand anything of what you're doing. You see these patterns, you understand they're correct, but you don't know why they're correct. You don't really know how to attach them any further by using chords or leading tones, and that's perfectly okay. It just means you got to sit down and learn some theory, and there's a lot of great ways on YouTube to do this, and I have videos up on this as well. Section 5 is going to be the simplest one, and that is just going to be your skill. It's one thing to know where everything is, how to play it, what to play next, playing the right thing, playing what you're trying to say, and all that, and that's awesome. You're literally 90% of the way there, and that's perfect. Having those things mastered will make you sound awesome, but the skills is what you need to branch. If you can play a scale, can you play it faster and with kind of more flair? Are your fingers good and independent and aren't really kind of stuck together? Because what happens to a lot of guitarists is their pinky and ring finger like to move together, and that's really holding back skill, especially when you get higher up on the fretboard. And of course, the other skill part is, can you stretch your fingers, get into your bar chord positions? Just having these physical abilities unlocked with speed and quality is really going to bridge you into being a great guitarist, because you can do anything you kind of think about wanting to do, and that is just the raw skill section that is involved. You know you're behind when you feel like you think faster than you play, and it is quite rare, but you're gonna find yourself in this point when you focus on the other four, and that's totally okay, because once you just do some exercises to fix these things, such as using hammer-ons and pull-offs with your pinky only like that in a more stretched position, you're gonna get a lot better with it. So you develop these skills, don't forget your pinky, and you're gonna round all 5 of them together to be an amazing guitarist. And if you want more simplified guitar content like this that you can act on, subscribe for more.